Hi guys, this is a continuation of the scene from yesterday because the scene's not done yet. But the issue with the out of focus background really was solved pretty easily actually by simply opening up the background image in Krita, creating a duplicate of the background, and then just using a mask to blur out half of it. And all that does is it creates a situation where when it's behind her, it's out of focus, and when it transitions to him, boom, it's in focus. And just to make it a little nicer, I also added right here, I don't know, you might not even be able to see it, but I actually added a motion blur as well, so that when the camera's moving, there's motion blur, and then when it comes to a stop, right there you see blur, no blur. Okay, so that's just a post effect that I did in OpenTunes by going to the FX schematic and adding a directional blur. So it's not a proper motion blur in the sense of doing any sort of evaluation of the motion of anything. It's just a directional blur that is pointed in the same direction as the direction that the camera is moving, and that's an efficient way to create motion blur without the computational expense. By the way, what you'll notice here is that when you have an effect in OpenTunes like a blur, I'm going to just kind of move things around here a little bit. Okay, I did not mean to do that. Pop that back out. Okay, you will notice that this little key here means that you can keyframe basically anything. So in this case, you see that I created a setting where there's 0mm intensity, so there's no motion blur. And then I duplicated that key, and then at the right time I added another key just by setting a value and clicking the little key icon. And then here it goes from 30, it's keyed, to being keyed back to 0. Make sense? So that's something you want to be aware of, is you can keyframe and animate almost any of the parameters of effects in OpenTunes, and a lot more too. I mean, if I select a color and want to animate the color over time, well, look at there's another key icon, so you get the idea. Almost everything's animatable in OpenTunes. So anyway, well, what's the issue then? Well, Akari looks pretty good, but her look really is not complete. So I started this additional layer that adds some appropriate shadows. And again, coming back to the schematic, not the effects schematic, you can see that this level, column 5, I went ahead and am going to now connect that here, so that any animation that happens to Akari, her shadows will follow it. Now, as you can see, I made the same mistake I made yesterday, which was to draw the shadows before I had plugged it into the animation. So yeah, and because of the animation data, I can't properly just like scale it and stuff. So what I'm going to do is just redraw those shadows, and basically that's where we're at, is just getting to work, putting some shadow action in this shot. So her overall the overall shadow on her body is in a separate level, but I just wanted to have a second second layer, I guess you'd say, of shadows to bring it on home. So that's what we're doing here. It's we're going to basically do the finishing work on this shot. So, you know, the mentality here is I'm just trying to raise the production value a little bit. Now I'm hoping to not have to add a multiply INO plugin on this layer. So in other words, I'm going to be careful not to go outside of the lines as opposed to letting OpenTunes calculate that for me. So, and this might be a little more shadow action than we really need, so I'm going to evaluate this here in a second. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. And do we want something there? I think not. That's starting to make it look too 3D-ish. But I am going to add a little bit of shadow to that. And then what we really need to do is, by the way, should that be the outline color? I think not. No, actually forget that. I think so, come to think of it. Okay, so I'm going to do some highlights on this layer as well. Just kind of use this layer for my touch-up work. So I'm going to add a new color. And use it to give a little dimensionality. Whoops, I think that was a little sloppy. To Kari's hair. As you can see, it's fairly transparent. I don't really want it to be too bold. I think that looks pretty good. Now what I am going to do is go Control-C, Control-V, and then add another color that's actually slightly more dense. And give her a bit of a rim light here. Okay. And come to think of it, I'm going to do even one more. Because this one's going to be completely opaque. And I'm going to give our girl, okay, that's a little large. But I'm going to give our girl some specular. Specular is important. Alright, now I'm going to come back here. Kind of already got this there, but yeah, just to kind of bring out the shape of the eyes. Obviously you can see right here we've got a little bit of an issue that could stand to be touched up. N key to see actual size. I think we're okay. I think we're okay here. And one thing that's also coming to mind for me would be her mouth. Color seems a little dense, so I'm just going to lighten that a little bit. Okay. File, save all. Okay, so now we can come back to our shadows. And now what we want to do is see how the animation, and you can see again when you do the regular render, the shadows that were languishing back here disappear. Okay, and now we can see another issue, which is that the new shadow layer needs to be combined with the other one. So if we go into the effects, I would say it's probably right here. Yes, column 3 and 4. Okay. The cool thing about the over effects is you can combine, it looks like every time you add a new source, it adds a spot for another source. So in our case, column 6 is her shadows that are being clamped to her body, and then everything else is going to be just grouped together like so, and then that connection obviously needs to just be gotten rid of. And so now we should see the, and we don't see the original or the additional shadows. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go into the proper rendered or preview mode here and look at how we might want to rearrange. Okay, that did the trick. Okay, so it turns out that the order in which these are stacked matters. It is in fact a stacking order. So if column 3 is on the bottom I assume that is her flesh and skin and everything. Yep, it is. So that means that the stacking order here in the over effect goes essentially in the order you see. Meaning, in some programs, if you have a stacking order, the idea is that you put something in the stack, and then when you add something below it, it gets added. So as you go down, things get added, and so whatever's going to be at the bottom of the stack is in fact on top. Okay, which I think for most people is probably counterintuitive, but a lot of programs do work that way. Here, it's the more intuitive way. Column 3, which is her skin, is on the bottom, and then the other two levels are over top of them. Actually, let's see what happens. I'm kind of curious here. What would happen if we moved her? Okay, we can't do that, but we can move this here, that there. What I'm trying to do here in a clunky way is reverse those two, just to see what that does. And it doesn't seem to make a difference. So I guess the salient point, the important thing, is that her main ink and paint layer is on the bottom, so that everything else can be composited over top of it. So cool. Now we got to go. I guess we don't need to be in full preview mode. But once we get to, okay, right here, we're going to have to make a modification. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate and then erase all this. And shoot, I didn't want to do that. Well, actually, I guess I did, come to think of it. But let me try to limit myself to doing as little as possible, because we don't really want this to chatter, if you will. So I want to try to keep this stuff as much consistent between frames as possible. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little comparison here, and you can see so in other words, we don't want to change things too much. Hence, if we can leave these lines in and use a little bit of a selection tool distortion to retain the set of lines, then that's kind of a good thing. Hope that makes sense, folks. Okay. Is that everything? Kind of, except this little guy right here. Okay, I think that works. Now the question is, can we just return to the previous key? Now the Q and W keys toggle between the drawings. Okay, that's interesting. So the answer is no. So I'm going to hit Z twice. On my computer I have Z mapped to undo instead of Control Z. That's just a preference on my part. So here what I'm going to do is kind of the same thing I did before. I'm going to see if I can get away with just using mostly a little distortion operation to make this work. Kinda, yeah, I'd say so. And then now let's just do a little erasing and touching up. Probably could argue that that one should be redone. So what I was kind of mentioning earlier about this extra level of details, I'm really trying to be more meticulous about our production values. I really want to adhere to the mindset that this needs to really compare favorably with any anime that you might watch. Now, of course, there's a wide range of stylistic choices out there with animes. Some are more crude and simplistic, and some are more really detailed. And I can't emulate the best of what's out there, but I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm going to switch here to number 1. That still isn't quite right, so I'm just going to do the same thing again. Okay, it looks like everything above the eyes is looking okay. Now you notice this drawing actually has a nose in it. So we'll go with that, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce the nose just a little bit. And then let's just go ahead and parallel the shadows we had in the prior frames. Gotta get that ear in there correctly. Let's pull out a little bit, see what we have. Okay. And here we need to just start drawing. So B key. Oh yeah, that's kind of weird. Oh, I know what's wrong. I forgot in the previous session I disabled this auto creation, so I want to use the X sheet as the animation sheet. That way when I start drawing, it's just gonna poof, create a new. Okay, so for our purposes we do need to be a little bit more careful to copy what we had before. Okay, so here, let's just kind of do that number. Let me check something. Okay, I did technically go outside the lines right there, but basically you can't see it. So I'm going to let myself get away with that this time. Okay. Get these shadows happening. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't blab on about production value. I mean, I guess the work speaks for itself. It's either up to snuff or it's not, and it is to some degree a matter of opinion. You know, it's one of those things that you sort of know when it's right. You can just sort of tell. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a little bit of reflection, and I want to pull back out here a bit so I can just get a more big picture view. Just a little bit here, and then okay, now we do need to go in here and remember the specular. Whoops, my pen got a little bit ahead of me. Okay, now technically, okay, all right, let's be technical. If there were in fact a specular light source, then when she turns her head, the light source would stay in the same place relative to her eyeball, right? So therefore, as you can see, we'll let the specular highlight drift. So, alright, just a little bit of touch up here. Obviously, we're dealing with a frame that is on screen for literally, well, in this case, yeah, to be fair, 6 frames. So now I want to go in here, hitting the Alt key to shrink my eraser. Just want to go chisel back into this a little bit. Little bit. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay, and here, same situation. We really can't leverage the prior drawings. So this session is going to be quite a bit shorter than yesterday because I'm going to finish this shot, and then I'm going to call it good for the moment. Got a few other things I need to get to. And then I suppose either later today or tomorrow we'll get cracking on another shot entirely. But it's humming along. It's humming along. Okay, let's go ahead and get some highlight action in there, including that boulder rim light that we kind of like. I don't like that. Let's do that one again. Okay, that's probably okay. Maybe, I guess I'm kind of missing a little bit of shadow action there and maybe there. That looks pretty good. Okay. Let's go to full screen or full actual render size. And let's hit the old L key and see how things are looking. Looks pretty good. Now, again, we can argue that. Let's just hit the save here. Down here, it could be argued that his shadows should be mapped through the plastic tool, so that the shadow is distorted and shakes the same way his body does, because you can see he's shaking but the shadow doesn't. Now the truth is that's not actually physically true. If you had a light source and you were moving around, the shadow would actually only move relative to what the shadow is being cast onto if the light source was moving as well. However, what looks better is the question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save all, and let's just go ahead and toy with this. And this would be, this is column 1. So this is the shadow layer. So actually, let me try to make this a little more concise so that you good folks can see what's going on. So if I turn this off, okay, yeah, that's correct. So now all I'm trying to find out is what happens if we go like that. Okay, that creates a compositing problem. But you know what? I think that might be okay. Watch, I'll tell you what we'll do. Why don't we do... Okay, yeah, that's fine. So why don't we do this? Can we do this and also this? Pipe it... Well, okay. Let me see. There's got to be a way to split this. So that's kind of interesting. What it does is it maps the oh, I know why. I know why. It's because the plastic tool mesh is limited to the shape of this guy. And so effectively everything that's outside of him gets clamped. Okay, that's all right. It's kind of like the multiply effect in post. So if that's going to happen, then my question is, can we, if we run it through both, then what's going to happen is that the we're going to see two versions of the spikes on his hair and these lines here, one of which moves and one of which doesn't. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to select all these guys. It looks like actually looks like there's, how is that possible? Oh, okay, there's the other two. So we're going to grab those, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go cells, and I'm going to go ahead and clone this level. Alright, let's just clone this level. Alright, and then this clone level, which is out here all by itself, this needs to be piped through here. Okay, so now that did half the trick for us. But now, of course, we've got double density on our shadows. So now what we need to do is let's turn this level off so we can't see it. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to erase. Let me see. Yeah, this is definitely somewhat risky behavior, but because we can't really see what we're doing, unfortunately. Let me just look here. Okay. Let's try the cheat first. And the cheat would be to just leave both of them in there and make the density of the shadow area just lighter. Like so. And just see if it looks okay. I have absolutely no idea. I suspect it won't because you're going to get some shadows that rattle and some that don't, but why are we seeing... Okay, so once... Oh, I see, because once the plastic tool kicks in, the shadow density... We're only seeing one shadow from here on out. So what really should happen is in these drawings, we should actually get rid of everything that is outside of the plastic tool. So it's kind of the inverse of what I was thinking before. Okay, so it's a little obnoxious that we have to do it this way, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here, grab this, and we've got both of these turned on at this point, so I'm going to hit the eraser, just make it big, and I'm going to erase that. Now I need to zoom out and see where we are. Okay, so now we can go to the camera view. That's fine. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. So now we should be able to just do a little cleanup here, and we're going to essentially trick our audience into buying the idea that it doesn't have this flaw in it, which it actually has. Okay, so here, see, no change in shadow density. Okay, that's exactly what, okay, hold on, that was a mistake. Got to be really careful here. Stay in the lines, stay where I want to be. So this is actually kind of a fun little little challenge, actually. Did I just say actually twice? I think I did. I'm being redundant all over again. Get it? Okay, let's see if that tricked it. I think it did. It did. That did the trick. So now let's go ahead and do a proper render. Actually, let's not do it this way. For some reason, if you hit the L key, if you hit Control R to basically do an actual render, it's way faster than turning on preview mode in the viewport. Okay, so short answer is yes and no. Look right here. Right there, you see a little bit of a flaw when he starts shaking. Can we get away with that? Okay, let's see where it takes place. Right there. Right there. And that's actually not even... I don't think it's even the shadow layer that's causing the issue there. Sorry, that's not what I needed to do. I needed to do this. Turn both these guys off. Yeah, there's your problem. So what frame are we on? Gosh, 114. So, and that may be an issue. Oh my gosh, that might be an issue that's baked into the background image. so we can turn these shadows back on, and what I want to do is I want to look at, not in preview mode, I want to look at what happens at frame 114. Yep, right there. There's your problem. Okay, so what is changing now right here? Yep, there it is. Okay. Okay, that's definitely a little bit of a tricky problem. And the reason it's tricky is, let me make sure the background hasn't changed. No, the background hasn't changed. It's actually the Ninja that's changed. Okay, this is a problem. Actually, maybe not. What I was going to say is you cannot paint into this drawing once it's being modified by the plastic tool. But at this point in time, it's not yet being modified by the plastic tool. Now here, because of the plastic tool, you're seeing that change. So it's the plastic tool that's enforcing that. Makes me wonder. I wonder if the solution is to just pull this up so it happens on the same key. Yes, there's your answer, guys. That was the answer. I think that did the trick. I hope that made sense. Some of this stuff, you know, it's like you see it and it kind of blows by pretty fast. You don't know what really just happened. Now I hit rewind. Let's play it back. What do you think? Looks good to me. The only thing I might criticize would be the in Mr. Ninja's palette. I think that his costume is probably not really quite the right color. So I'm gonna go here and sample that color, and so there's Ninja's costume. So yeah, there's the problem. The Ninja's costumes are actually supposed to be pretty black. So let's go here, see if that did the trick. So just so we can see, you know, see the outlines better. Yeah, that's better. What do you think? Let's make the outlines even lighter. Can't hurt to try. Cannot hurt to try. So let's take ink pencil and just put the value up there. See what happens. I think it looks better, folks. I really do. I like it. What if we go even higher? Too high. Yeah, that's too high. It's interesting because what I'm finding is outlines, like you can see on Akari, I'm adding a little bit of color into her outlines. And what I'm finding is if you add just a little bit of color, around the 50% value range seems to look about right in order to kind of match what you see in typical anime. So in the past, it appears to me that I have generally made outlines on my characters too dark. Now there's a time for that, and that is a stylistic choice for sure. But no, I like this. So I'm going to hit save all. So if you want to see how the plastic tool works, just look at the last video I did, not this one. The only other thing I was noticing was a little bit of erroneous line work. I don't know, maybe it was actually this I was seeing. Let's go to Akari, and let's just do a quick examination of her keyframes. Right there. That's what I was seeing. That. Okay. Akari on this frame. Let's grab the eraser. Let's hit the Alt key to make it a little more controllable. Okay, and it's not on that layer or level. It's here. There we go. Okay. That little bit, see that I can live with. You're not going to notice that. But I don't want these like erroneous lines just jumping around. Okay, guys, I think we've actually got a complete shot here. I think we do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control R so we can see it rendered. And not only that, I'm going to hit the well, I'm going to stretch this out and hit the N key. I guess that won't work, so I guess I can just zoom in like this. K key, L key. Guys, I'm thinking this looks pretty good. I think I'm liking it. So with that, I will go ahead and stop. I need to go ahead and cut this into the show. And on the next video, we will... So, and by the way, in case you're interested, this was the shot that we used to have before. And I didn't like it. I never liked it because there was just this really abrupt switch there. Doing a bunch of tweening didn't seem to be the answer. I felt like I wanted to take what the amount of refinement I had achieved in the design of Akari's face and stuff. I needed to just kind of bring her up to date. Okay, I see a problem, by the way. And so I figured we'll redo it, and then when I was redoing it, I had the brainstorm of adding the camera move because this shot was already done and I was able to bring it in. So again, look at the last video. It's almost 2 hours long, but it shows in very good detail every little step of this process. So now what I want to do is, I'm just checking, grabbing the right brush. Okay, yes, okay, I want to take this, hit the B key, put that there, because it's there, and look, it disappeared here. So this is what I was talking about earlier. These are the kinds of details that I'm really, okay, hold on. Now it's probably important that we go like this. Let's go to the previous. Let's select just this little section right here, hit Control C, go to the next keyframe and hit Control V. Okay, that might have backfired. Nope, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay. That way we have the exact same rim light, between frames, because we don't want those rim lights to be dancing around. Chatter, I guess, is probably a better word. Here. And then this is the hold, so if this looks right, then we're good to go. So, and we are. So with that, we'll call it good. I'll get it cut into the show. And then for next time, we will be, since these two were married together, this is really one shot now. And then this is going to be the next shot. Now this is kind of good news. I think we're getting into some territory here where the original shots that were done in OpenTunes really looked pretty good with a little bit of fix-up. But I think we're going to have to, we're finally at the point where we can quit redoing stuff constantly and actually leverage the earlier work. The main thing I see here is, like, for example, the ink color's not quite right here. Stuff like that, but it's not, that's pretty easy to fix. So with that, I'm looking forward to getting into that process. And as you guys know, there will be more later.